This week's episode of the seasonal anime checkup OVA is dedicated to a good friend of the pod, one of our members who helped put this whole thing together, who tragically passed away this week, and the Loki man, our little orange friend cat,
Little menace.
He was a stubborn old man. He was a butthole at times because he would just do whatever he wanted and didn't have a care in the world about what he did or if there was any consequences to his actions. But at the same time, he was a really good dude, really caring, real loving, and did a whole lot to help Al in a lot of, trying times here and there. Definitely helped her get through, a master's degree, a PhD, and a whole wealth of other stuff that has happened over the last decade.
Yep.
I remember when I went down to see you, and I was the first day I was there. I was very tired because I'd driven all night to get there, and tried sleeping for a bit, but then woke back up and just kind of like sat around and was going to play some Ace Attorney before you came back. And the one cat of yours that was like, I'm going to go interact with this person, see what's up, was the Loki man. He's like, I'm going to come mark you. You're my person now. We're going to I'm going to hang out with you. You're going to be my bud now. And I was like, cool. Loki, you're a good dude.
Which
and
that's
that,
rare.
Yeah. That was one of the things that surprised me because you always mentioned like, oh, it's Maxwell who does that. But it was Loki who was the one who was like, it was up. And that led to like a whole gag of, be like, oh, text the Loki man because he's being a butthole and he needs to do something good, or just like silly things like that. And we had the running joke of him being an alleged criminal because of
crime lord,
because he was just rambunctious like that, and he had his little criminal kitties that would attack your car sometimes here and there. He was a great dude.
Yep.
He's a really great dude, and he's going to be sorely missed.
Yep. He was a good dude. He was my dude.
Al, it's time to step in line with everyone else in the world, apparently, and talk about that Squid Game. Because it is very, very popular.
Like the one time that it's not weird to watch a Korean drama like I've been doing for years.
Yeah. It's something. That is for true. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga, except none of those are really involved here this week.
It's our podcast.
Kind of, but exactly. It's our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
It's a tangent.
It's related.
Yes.
I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Ladium.
Hello.
And this is episode number 252, where we're going to talk about Netflix's Squid Game. So everyone had been talking about this show, and eventually I was like, all right, I guess I'll watch this show because I gotta see what all the buzz is about, because enough people I know are talking about how it's something you gotta watch, so I might as well, which led to a whole thing with Netflix accounts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Whoops.
But now I got a cool horse picture, which is very funny.
Yeah, it's really good. I laugh every time I open the Netflix account now.
It's really good. So I was the one who kind of initiated it for us, and then you were like, "Oh, okay, I'll watch this, I guess."
Yep.
The weird thing is, like, I knew I had heard about people talking about it. The first real exposure I had to this show was watching someone play the Roblox game that someone had made in Roblox of Squid Game.
What?
It's basically, so like someone had to recreate all like the games within the game, and it's all in Roblox. So like it has like the music
Oh my
and all
God.
that sort of stuff. Um, and it's like all just like weird recreations of like the each individual game that you have to go through in order to win.
So you knew what the games were ahead of time.
I knew what the games were ahead of time, but like that didn't really ruin the show for me. It was just like, okay, I know what this is. I know the how this works, but I don't know necessarily like, oh, who's going to win these games or how it's going to work in
Mm-hmm.
that aspect. So I just had a little bit of knowledge in that regard. So that's
Interesting.
how I had come to this, and that was kind of like the other push. I was like, okay, I'll watch this, I guess. And then you watched it as well, and now we're here to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Uh, over the course of the last month or so, this has apparently become the most watched series on Netflix ever,
It's crazy.
which is very wild to think that a Korean drama would become the most watched series on Netflix ever.
A Korean drama that like has like class connotations to it and like
Mm-hmm.
critiques on like debt slavery basically. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it in a past life I worked at a movie rental store. And I distinctly remember many times that people would rent movies that were subtitled and they would bring them back. They're like, I don't want to read. I'm like, okay, well, we'll get you another movie then. Like it was one that like had Mel Gibson in it or something, or like Mel Gibson directed it.
Oh, I believe you mean The Passion of the Christ.
Was that it?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Because I
it,
remember as well in a past life when that movie came out, a lot of people were mad that that movie was subtitled.
they were all just like, "Arr."
I don't
So
want to read.
so to me, I'm like, wow, all right. So this is, and I'm sure some people use the English dub.
Yeah, it helps that there is a dub to it.
Um,
That's going to make it more accessible to people who are like that, who are just like, I don't want to read.
um, I will say there's basically one thing about the dub that's good,
Mm-hmm.
besides the fact that I can understand it, and um, that's why am I blanking on his name? Greg Chun.
Yes.
Okay, Greg Chun, who plays Gi-hun, the main character, and he does a fantastic job. He really does do a good job. But other than that, it kind of comes across as like Dynasty Warriors level dubbing, which is oof,
Oof.
oof.
Oofa
Um,
doofa.
so I feel like you would get an inferior experience, and this is coming from me, who is usually a big defender of dubs. That was not a very good one.
Yeah, like, we both are are proponents of like, hey, watch dubs. They're good now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I still feel weird watching anything dubbed that's live action
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like a lot of time it's hard to recreate the same like level of passion or just like emotion, I should say, that an actor is doing when you are redubbing it.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's always I feel like there's just a bit of a disconnect there that kind of takes you out of the immersion of whatever you're watching when you're watching something live action that's dubbed. Um, it's
Well,
why
there's not
like
even an attempt to like match the lip flaps.
yeah, so there's also an issue there. Like, um, the two Raid movies are very popular action films that came out in the last like what 5-6 years, and they are dubbed on the home video releases. But like I can't watch those dubbed because it's like that just doesn't feel right.
What are they?
They're like super like action films. I think I don't remember where they're from. Maybe like Taiwanese. That might be completely wrong. Um, Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
But they're like super like they're kind of gory action films, but they're like really really good action films. But they have like English dubs on their home video releases. But I'm just like I'm just gonna watch this in its original language because that's probably the better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was kind of my issue. I was like when I saw like it says a dub, but I was like I should probably just watch this in its original language because that's probably going to be the better viewing experience.
I switched back and forth depending on what I was doing.
Yeah, of course.
Like if I could actually pay attention to the subs, I would have that on there. But I would also just like if I was having to do something else, I'm like, all right, well, dub time. So I had the strange experience of flip flopping.
Hmm.
But like I said, Greg Chen killed it.
Oh
Absolutely
yeah,
killed it.
totally.
I'm
Unsurprising.
not surprised by that, but like I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they just blew their entire budget on him.
I mean, it's a good one to get.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean like I don't blame him. I'd probably also blow my budget on Greg Chen.
So we're not going to do this like a traditional episode where we kind of like go episode by episode and talk about that because, like, look, if you're listening to this episode, most likely you've seen the series.
Mm-hmm.
You know what happens in it. So we're just going to talk about like how it came to be, and then talk about the twists and all that sort of stuff because I feel like we have a bit of a different opinion compared to a lot of other people when it comes to this series. So
Yeah.
we'll dive into all of that.
Also, shout out to John for sending me that one stupid video of Squid Game that like I've legitimately watched that probably 25 times now, just giggling at myself.
It's pretty dumb and good.
It's pretty dumb and good. It's like a very distinct like this is Al humor right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that he recognized that that was Al humor and sent it to me. But yeah, it was really funny. It's still really funny. I have it saved on my phone so I can watch it whenever I want. As I watched it right before we started recording.
You did. Let's dive into some of the development of this show because apparently there's a big story when it comes to that.
Okay.
You're gonna have to tell me how to pronounce the creator of the show's name.
All right, I gotta find that.
It's down in production development.
Production development. Hwan Dong-yuk.
Hwang Dong-yuk.
Mhm.
We can go with that.
That's the name you're looking at, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's how I would say it. I think that's mostly right. Let me double check that. Hwang Dong Hyuk 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 Hyuk
Hyuk.
Hyuk.
I'm saying Hyoka, but I just don't go with the ka. Hyuk.
Hyeok.
Hyuk.
Hyuk. So
Hyuk.
Hwang Dong Hyuk.
Okay, we'll go with that. All right. Around 2008, which was a long time ago.
Was it?
13 years ago.
Jesus Christ.
Hwang Dong-hyuk had tried unsuccessfully to get investment for a different movie script he had written and found himself broke. He spent his free time in manga cafes reading Japanese survival manga books such as Battle Royale, Liar Game, and Gambling Apocalypse Kaiji, which are all death game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Huang compared the character situation in these works to his own current situation and considered the idea of being able to join such a survival game to win money to get him out of debt, leading him to write a film script on the concept throughout 2009. Huang stated, "I wanted to write a story that was an allegory or fable about modern capitalist societies, something that depicts an extreme condition, somewhat like the extreme competition of life, but I wanted it to use the kind of characters that we've all met in real life." However, he feared the story was too difficult to understand and bizarre at the time. Huang tried to sell his story to various Korean public production groups and actors, but had been told it was too grotesque and unrealistic. Huang put the script aside without any takers, and over the next 10 years successfully completed 3 other films. This is about Netflix growing, and oh man, we want to have something that's not from the U.S. That's cool. There you go. Blah 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 blah. He named characters after his childhood friends. Stuff. Gyeon's background was apparently inspired by the organizers of the Songyang motor labor strike of 2009 against mass layoffs. Which makes sense.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Huang based the narrative on Korean games of his childhood to show the irony of a childhood game where competition was not important, becoming an extreme competition with people's lives at stake. Additionally, as his initial script was intended for film, he opted to use children's games with simple rules that were easy to explain in contrast to other survival-type films using games with complex rules. The central game he selected, the Squid Game, was a popular Korean children's game from the 1970s and 80s. Huang recalled the Squid Game as the most physically aggressive childhood game I played in neighborhood alleys as a kid, which is why I also loved it the most. And because of this, it's the most symbolic game that reflects today's competitive society, so I picked it as the show's title. The red light green light game was selected because of its potential to make a lot of losers in one go. Regarding the selection, Huang said the game was selected because the scene filled with so many people randomly moving and stopping could be viewed as ridiculous, but a sad group dance. Huang joked that the Dalgona candy, the sugar candy, let's go with that because I can't, I'm bad. That
Doggone.
Dalgona, okay, candy game that they chose may influence the sale of Dalgona, similar to how sales of Korean gats, traditional hats, bloomed after the broadcast of Netflix's series Kingdom. Licking the candy to free the shape was something that Huang said that he had done as a child and brought it into the script. Huang had considered other Korean children's games, such as all these other ones. Huang wrote all of the series himself, taking nearly 6 months to write the first 2 episodes alone, after which he turned to friends to get input on moving forward. Huang also addressed the challenges of preparing for the show, which was physically and mentally exhausting, saying 6 of his teeth fell out while making season 1.
Bruh.
Jesus.
Well, I guess he's probably got enough money to fix them now.
Yeah.
Get implants.
Huang initially said that he has no immediate plans to write a sequel to Squid Game, stating that he did not have well-developed plans for a follow-up story, and if he were to write one, he would likely have a staff of writers and directors to help. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Huang said in an interview with The Times that a second season may focus more on the story of the frontman, as well as incorporating more about the police. Huang himself had been a former police officer and said, I think the issue with police officers is not just an issue in Korea. I see it on the global news that the police force can be very late in acting on things. There are more victims or a situation gets worse because of them not acting fast enough. This was an issue I wanted to raise.
I think there are other issues with the police besides just that, but you know what they say.
Yep. He added he also wanted to explore the relationship between the cryptic frontman and his police brother, Hwang Juno, as well as the background of the salesman character. With the popularity of the show, Huang later opined about the possibility of a second season, telling CNN, there's nothing confirmed at the moment, but so many people are enthusiastic that I'm really contemplating it, which is aka, hey, we made a lot of money.
Yep.
So there's that. I think that's basically all we really need to talk about. People loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have watched it. Let me see here. According to Bloomberg, by October 2021, Netflix estimated that Squid Game had generated nearly $900 million in value based on extended viewer data. It cost $21.4 million to produce.
Ooh. I do want to mention in the casting section, it says on casting Ali Abdul, Huang said it was hard to find good foreign actors in Korea, and he chose Anupam Tripathi because of his emotional acting capabilities and fluency in Korean. They're like, all right, yeah, you are not Korean and you can speak Korean. You got it. Let's go.
Jesus.
Crazy.
So yeah, the Squid Game.
The Squid Game. It is interesting that like Netflix was distinctly thinking like we want this to be a global show.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of it is very much not global at all. It is very distinctly Korean.
Yeah, there's a statement here from like the co-CEO of Netflix who basically was like, the exciting thing for me would be if the next Stranger Things came from outside America. Right now, historically, nothing of that scale has ever come from anywhere but Hollywood.
Well, that's some American exceptionalism right there.
Yes, that very much is.
Woo! All right. Yikes. I mean, like, it's whatever. Anyway, so yeah, this show's freaking huge.
Yeah, I think like you said earlier, like it's very surprising that it's a Korean drama that makes it such a huge thing. It's such a weird thing that it's become such a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, has there ever been anything else like besides this that has really kind of crossed that threshold to becoming more of like a global sensation in this kind of way? I mean, not necessarily this kind of way, but like something I guess that's crossed the borders, I guess would be the easier way to say it.
Not with the US.
Mm-hmm.
The closest I think of it, well, even then, like, wasn't it from a Japanese Boys Over Flowers? Was the manga first, or was the story, or was the show first?
I want to say the manga was first. Whoa.
I think so, but like
My
Boys Over
computer's doing
Flowers was
things.
a pretty big crossover in terms of like it was huge over there, and like Winter Sonata was the same, that it had crossover, but again, that was exclusively like Asian countries that it had crossover.
Boys Over Flowers started in 1992.
Okay, so yeah, it was definitely manga first.
But yeah, that yeah.
Those
Um,
are the only two that I could think of. You know what? You know it should have blown up like this because it was a better Korean drama, and it was also on Netflix. Strong Girl Bong Soon.
you're right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I can't really think of any like Korean dramas or anything that's like really blown up over here that wasn't just like someone just took it and made an American adaptation of it for and
Right,
then that made it blow up.
right.
So this is like a very strange anomaly. And
Mm-hmm.
also just with it because of the genre it's in, I think as well.
Yeah,
Because the death game genre isn't necessarily like the most popular thing. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes it does because like the success of the Hunger Games really showed that like it can be very popular over here. But that's more focused in from like, a young adult
yep,
mindset and formula, whereas this is very ultra violent and adult.
yeah. And I mean, like Hunger Games has a lot of emphasis on like the love triangle and
hmm
all that. Whereas this does not have that. And like you said, it's pretty violent.
hmm
It's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of a look at like the seedy underbelly of what happens when like you get stuck in like really addictions and have issues where you like fall on the wayside with society.
hmm
Because like it's very 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 clear that Gihan, the main character, has a gambling addiction. Like he very much has a gambling addiction.
Totally.
Um, he needs therapy, but instead he gets almost an ice pick up the nose.
He needs to call those gambling addict numbers I see at the end of any sports thing that has a gambling sponsorship with it.
Wait, is that a real thing?
Yeah.
Oh wow, man. Um, but yeah, it's just like none of the characters are actually. Well, I think one becomes sort of likable-ish. Um, but none of them are really likable characters. None of them are like good characters. Um, and I don't mean that in the sense of like they're poorly written. I mean in the sense that like none of them are good people.
The only person that I think is good out of the main characters is like Ali.
Yes, that was the one that I was
Yeah. Everyone
alluding
else
to.
though is like, eh.
Like he had the short end of the stick in some of the situations that went down with him, and a lot of that is because he was a foreign guy in a Korean in Korea that you know people thought that they could take advantage of him, but
hmm
he legitimately just wanted the best for his family.
hmm
So he was the only one that I was like, you know what, you're actually somewhat of a good dude. I like you.
Which means you're not surviving.
You are not gonna make it.
No.
Um, but yeah, otherwise they're all just like mostly people.
hmm I think this is the proper time to give our general thoughts about the show.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Um, I will explain it the way I explained it to someone else. I think this show is fine at best.
Yeah.
It does a good job of creating that very uncomfortable, uneasy atmosphere that you want from a death game genre type media,
Mm-hmm.
especially when like you're going into the games and everything and all that. However, I think a lot of the character writing is very one-dimensional.
Yes.
It relies a whole lot on tropes, especially if you've seen Death Game stuff before. You kind of know the tropes and you can kind of see them coming a lot of times,
Yep.
which leads to it also being a pretty predictable series. So that a lot of the twists that are, going to be big reveals and all that sort of stuff, I was just like, that makes sense. Yeah, I called that one. All right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like one of them I figured out pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, oh, well, that it's the only thing that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
So,
other one I figured out on a whole different situation. You were like, oh, hey, huh.
mm-hmm.
But
So like a lot of that kind of takes the wind out of its sails, I think, especially by the
yeah,
end of it. You're just kind of like, yeah, I guess. And then I think like the final episode falls pretty flat.
yes. I think pretty flat is an understatement.
Mm-hmm. So like it's to me like I'm just like it's okay. On the flip side though, I can understand why this would be very popular and like why people would be invested and like it a lot because they may not necessarily have the same experience with this genre that we do per se
Mm-hmm.
and know like a lot of the tropes and all that sort of stuff. So coming into it with like that mindset, it makes sense like, oh, like yeah, of course this is going to be a very big thing.
Yeah.
It's still weird that like it is a big thing though
Yes.
because it's one of the things you don't expect,
No.
but looking at it from the outside, looking in, like I can be like, okay, yeah, totally. I understand why everyone and their grandma seems to like this show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I know you basically have you're of the same opinion. I
Yes.
don't know how much you want to add to that.
No, I mean, I I agree with you that it was very, very predictable. But again, like I was a big, 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 big fan of Battle Royale back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still think it's hysterical that I like somehow was able to get like a horrible, horrible version of it off of eBay and like do a screening on my terrible tiny TV in high school.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, kids, let's go watch the Battle Royale. I say as if I wasn't like 17 at the time. And like the book I've read so many times, it's insane. And the manga is also really good. But I think I was really big fan of that. And then obviously, as you are well aware, like Zero Escape series is like one of my favorite series, period.
Mm-hmm.
And then the good parts of Danganronpa exist.
Mm-hmm.
Also very, very good. And so like leaning on the stuff that like we knew about it, it was just like, all right, cool. Like none of this is really interesting. And I've seen it done better many times.
Yeah.
Um, so I can understand like the novelty of people like coming to it like, oh, this is different. This is interesting. But like it really isn't if you like know anything about the genre.
Yeah. So like you, I have the same kind of experience. Like I watched Battle Royale many times, played through the Zero Escape games, played through Danganronpa. I
You know,
read
that
I think like half of those Hunger Game books,
oh wow,
maybe
really?
three of them. I don't know,
I
two or
didn't
three of
do
them.
that.
I mean, you could even like point to stuff like Saul and the torture porn explosion that it happened in
Mm-hmm.
like the mid 2000s as like an offshoot of this type of genre.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's also a thing you can look to and be like, okay, yeah, has roots in that same kind of environment. Um,
Yeah, you even mentioned at one point that this was kind of like Saw
mhm.
for the modern era.
Yeah. Hopefully, we don't get to the point where we get movies like Hostel where they're like, let's chop off a dude's dick, and I'm like, huh,
Ooh.
ow, jeez, or just go completely off the rails like Saul did eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so we have a lot of experience with this genre. So again, like we talked about, a lot of the things that are shocking or anything like that, it's like we can put our heads together and look at this critically and be like, okay, yeah, this is what's going to happen. This makes a lot of sense. If it doesn't go that way, then sure, that would be very surprising, but
Exactly.
it's mostly going to go this way, and that's usually where it goes.
There was some complex motives at play here.
I don't even know if they were that complex.
It was a
They
joke.
were motives.
It was a joke.
I know.
It's joke.
But I really wanted
Um,
to put forth here that like I think the main villains here did not really have complex motives. They just had
no.
motives.
Yeah, yeah, it was lame. Also, like, good lord, that cop character. Um,
He just wild and
Juno was like wilding the whole time. Like, you make the stupidest decisions, my dude. What are you doing? It's so surprising he even like survived through all of that. Like, good God, he made dumb decisions.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
He was the Charlie Day character in Always Sunny who just yells wild card and jumps out of a van.
Basically, yes. Basically, yes. That was what that was. But he jumped out of the van in like a PlayStation mask.
Yeah. There was also some weird things that like they would intentionally like point out
Yeah.
that never came to fruition or like never was meaningful. One of them was like when they point out that bomb. It's like, oh, there's a bomb here in case the VIPs need to get out.
Yep.
That never comes to be. There's also multiple times when Juno's in the guard outfit
Mm-hmm.
that they show his pocket that it's unfastened
Yes.
because it's broken.
Mm-hmm. Never comes
Nothing
up.
ever comes of it.
Um, and then Sabyok, the girl, the main cool
Cool
girl.
girl, yes.
Um, she like they pointed out several things to her, like her staying awake through the traveling. That never became a thing.
Right.
Like that was not relevant at all. Her going through the vents, like cool. She figured out that there was sugar and that's it. And it wasn't even like it wasn't super relevant ultimately.
Right.
So I'm just
Like,
like, what are you guys doing here?
we gotta give you some intrigue, and by some I mean just some, a
Yeah,
little
but
sprinkle.
none of it.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of Chekhov's gun here. That like none of the Chekhov's guns went off at all,
Mm-hmm.
and it just makes it seem like a lot of drop plot points or like that they were forgotten,
It's like they're trying to misdirect you, but then like the misdirection is that hey, nothing comes of this.
which is lame.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I guess, sure. Like, if you're gonna misdirect, you gotta do it. You gotta do it well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very odd.
Um. So I think the first big reveal twist is of Polygon Man, who Polygon Man is the front man, who I guess that's his official name, but we call him Polygon Man because he looks like Polygon Man, the like 1995 Sony PlayStation mascot.
He does, and also, there's the PlayStation symbols everywhere. I don't know what
Yeah,
PlayStation did to hurt people, but they're here hurting people.
this dude is very unhappy that he has not gotten a PlayStation 5 yet.
You know what? It's super loud, so I don't know why he'd be super upset about
I mean,
that.
he's got enough money now that he can get one,
Exactly, and
maybe
it's
two.
very large.
Mm-hmm.
So
So yeah, the reveal of Polygon Man. I kind of figured that out around the time that Juno found all that information in like his room of like all like the Squid Game people, and they make like a very big point like, oh, his brother was a person here. And I was like, oh, well, they probably recruited him and he became like staff or something.
yeah,
And then there's also a scene before the big reveal of like they find the dude that Juno like chokes out and dumps him in the off the boat, and he puts
yep,
his badge on that dude. So
yep.
that guy washes up, and Polygon Man shows up, looks at the badge, and like there's a very obvious like
Pause.
pause. And I was like, okay, well there you go. There's your
Yep,
confirmation.
yep. Yeah, I don't remember exactly when I put it together, but it was like, oh, it's got to be him because like
Mm-hmm.
they keep bringing up that the fact that his like he's looking for his brother. He even mentions a couple times to somebody like, "Hey, is there a guy in here named this?" And he's like, "We don't know their names. We only have no numbers."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I kept figuring that it wasn't coming up. It wasn't coming up. It wasn't coming up. I'm like, oh, he's He's Polygon Man. That's what it
Yeah,
is. Like,
like, and especially because like when you find that information in that room, it crosses out the idea that he's a current player probably.
yeah.
Because I mean, there is the idea of like death game stuff where players who have won come back. Like I think that's the thing in
Yes.
battle royale.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this made more sense that he would come back and be like, "Oh, we're gonna recruit you so you can help us run things," sort of dealio.
And I think it would have introduced a different character, like as one of the main squad that would fit the bill
Mm-hmm.
of being the brother if his brother was actually going to be a player
Yeah.
instead of just being like a bit guy in the back.
Right.
But
Because you
yeah,
can't
what?
really do that.
Nope. So it was just very, very obvious. I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely him.
So like when the big reveal happens on that island, it's like, oh okay, yep,
Yep.
that's yep.
Yep.
And then he gets shot and falls into the water and ripperoni
Yeah, I asked you, I was
wild
like,
card.
is he dead? And
I mean, I
he was
guess we
like,
didn't see a body,
I
so who
mean,
knows? But he did get shot and fall into like off a cliff.
yeah. But as you mentioned, happened in Yakuza and they survived.
Multiple people did that and survived.
Exactly. So it is possible narratively.
True.
But I mean, generally in these kinds of things, if you don't see a body, then like I'm not gonna think that they're dead.
Yeah.
So maybe they left that open for a potential season 2
Mm-hmm.
situation. And like him running around the island, like trying to send him going to that island without any kind of backup or like indication that he was going there was stupid.
Hey boss, I'm going to be out for a couple of days. Don't worry, I'll talk to you later.
But then him like running around the island while they were looking for him, like trying to get a signal to send this stuff off. I'm like, are you a dumb like?
Especially because he's like trying to send photos and videos.
Yeah,
Like that's not gonna send.
bro, what are you doing? And also like, you've been hiding out basically in plain sight this whole time. You can't figure out how to do it now? Okay.
He was wildin'.
He was wild and a card. You know why? He also like made that old man butt go away.
He did. Had to
Yikes.
suffer with the old man butt.
Old man butt.
Um, and then I think the second big reveal before the finale is the reveal of who like the mastermind is,
Mm-hmm.
which was one of those things where we both were kind of suspicious of this one character who was the old man
Yep.
because I mean like it would make sense if like they were just trying to make a sympathetic character,
Mm-hmm.
but they focus in so much on him that it was
Yep.
immediately like this guy's got to be suspicious of something. And
Mm-hmm.
then in the marbles game, like he is very clearly messing with the main character.
He's faking it.
Yeah.
Like he just goes like full on like, oh no, I have dementia. Crap.
Mm-hmm.
And like then has like clarity moments. They're like, yeah, that was entirely faked. That
Mm-hmm.
entire thing was faked. You're just with him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. He's like, I have a brain tumor and I'm going to die, but I'm going to be in the games. Woo.
Woo. And
Um,
then so obviously he loses the marbles
yep,
game
yep.
and gets shot, but they
Off
clearly do it
screen.
where he's shot off screen or the whole thing is obscured.
Yes.
So you don't see him get shot, you don't see a body or anything.
Mm-mm.
So that's another red flag.
Well, and I pointed out that he's like, oh wow, this is the house that I lived in. It's like, huh, interesting, interestingly convenient here that his house would be one of the ones in this like set.
Mm-hmm.
And also his house has the PlayStation symbols out front on the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, huh, uh-huh, okay. I know I got your number, old man. I know what you're doing.
Yeah. And then they make it very clear, like in the next episode when they show like behind of the mastermind, like, oh, it's the old man.
Yeah.
There you go. So like when the big reveal happens in like the final episode when Gion has to like go find him and he gets the card from him, is like, this is from your Ganbu or whatever, however you say that. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, of course, yeah, there you go. And then the whole thing about like, I was like, he's gonna explain his motives, and it's just gonna be like, oh, I was rich and I was bored, and then he just says exactly that, and I was just like, because that is the most cliche, like super rich villain stereotype that you can think of,
Yep.
especially when it comes to like, oh, we're going to hoard a bunch of people and make them play a game for us, like, oh, we were just bored and we had a lot of money. It's like, you could think of so many better motivations than that.
Yep.
That might be the part that frustrated me the most, because I was like, that's so lame.
Yeah, it was really annoying. Also weird that like most of the VIPs, if not all of the VIPs, were speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, are there not any like Korean VIPs? Like what's the deal here?
Well, there's like the one dude who spoke a different language, but I don't know what language he spoke.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I guess it was just to make it to seem like, oh, this has like international intrigue amongst
Mhm.
like people who are in like the underworld and all that sort of stuff and have a lot of money and a lot of too much time on their hands. I guess.
I guess.
I don't know.
It was lame.
Yeah.
It was really lame.
Yep.
Old man's like, "Oh, I wasn't lying about the tumor." It's like, cool, that wasn't the issue.
Bad
That
motive,
that
still murder.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you definitely killed like 455 people. No, 454 people.
I just wanted to play the game because it's much funner than watching.
Woo!
Woo.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that
like
was the
we both
thing.
knew there had to be an insider there because that's how these things go.
100%, yeah.
Man, should have gotten beat Takeshi.
Especially because, like, once you look at, like, the group of main characters, like,
Mm-hmm.
he's the odd man out.
Yes.
He's the easiest one to target and be like, yeah, he's probably going to be the insider.
Yep.
I thought the final game kind of was because like they have the whole like big like dinner thing where like I guess the whole setup for that is that like there's three of them left, they have to get down to two,
Yes.
so one of them has to die, and then like Cool Girl is like the most interesting person to win at this point, and then
Yeah.
she just dies in the most lackluster way possible.
Yep.
And I was just like, well, great. Here's two people that are going to win, or one of these two people that are going to win that I do not care about either of them.
Yeah, I mean, like the issue at the end is that there was the three of them, and then Sangwoo and Gihan, like neither of them are interesting, neither of them are like good people, and neither of them really have like good intentions per se with that money.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Cool Girl at least wanted to help her family. Even though she was also still kind of a shitty person. But they're like, what if we just like somehow give a giant shard of glass into her, whereas everybody else is standing there too, and none of them get any damage besides like little cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Sangwoo's like, what if I just mercy kill you? You're gonna die anyway.
What if Cool Girl just gives Gihan a bunch of death flags right before she dies?
Bunch of them.
I was just like, oh, this is where we're going, huh?
Yep. So I literally did not give in the final game. I was like, you're both terrible. I don't care. And then like
they try and like redeem Sangwoo afterwards, like at the
Yeah.
end. And I was just like, whatever.
But it doesn't even make sense because like they're both like, well, I say they're both. Gihan's like kind of defending, even though I think he's supposed to be offense. But Sangwoo is like really, really going for the throat there, and then he's like, "I'm gonna win! I'm gonna win! I'm gonna win!"
Oh, I got beat up. I guess I should. Hey, we can't make this a tie, so I'll just kill myself and lose.
Gonna attack you with a shirt.
That was the funniest part. Where it's like, well, he's coming at me with a knife. What do I defend myself with? Shirt.
um, but yeah, it's just like, oh man, I'm lying on the ground. He's going to the top of the squid. I'm gonna lose. And then Kian's like, well, what if we give up? You know, we can vote to give up and it's done. He's like, no, we're not gonna do that. Blech. I was like, what happened to the dude who was legitimately like trying to freaking kill his friend like not even 2 minutes ago?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to that guy? Like, you didn't get beat up that bad.
No, he did. He just got beat up mentally and physically.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but like, it seemed like the most bizarre like redemption turnabout because like he just had no reason to do what he did
Yeah.
other than like, oh no, the game's gonna be over. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So yeah, then Giyun wins, and then he's like, "Oh, my mama died, so I'm not gonna touch my money at all for a year.
For a
Somehow
year.
escape the debt collectors and the bank that wants all of that money that he needs to pay them."
I have no idea how that happened. That for a year he just didn't do anything with the like debts, and it didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Especially because like after he goes and sees the old man, he's like, "All right, time to spend money. Yeah, yeah, yeah."
It was so insane, and like the whole scene at the one bank where he's like, "Oh, you know, you're a VIP." He's like, "Can I borrow 10,001?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, bye." Like I was like, "What? What? What are you doing, bro? Like you didn't learn anything." Like I understand you're gonna have some like PTSD after that,
Totally.
but like, what are you doing? Pay off your debts. I don't know. Maybe take a shower. Try and like hang out with your daughter before she leaves. That might be cool.
But
Maybe
no.
try and make up the fact that you had like the worst freaking birthday for her by giving her like a lighter gun.
I mean, that's a pretty cool gift.
I mean, she was like 10.
Yeah, she get to be the cool 10-year-old.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like so all that happens, and then like you said, the old man dies, and he's just like, oh, I guess I can do anything now. I'm gonna dye my hair
Woo.
red and be cool. I'm gonna be a dad now. And
Well, and
then
not only that, but like he like goes and finds cool girl's
brother,
brother.
and is like, hey, let me dump you off to this lady with a bunch of money. All right,
And
later.
dumps, yeah, he like dumps the kid off with Songwoo's mom with a bunch of money. And like there's definitely some kind of conversation about like, oh, this kid needs to be watched. But I don't think he was indicating this was gonna be a long-term situation here.
Right.
But he just kind of like dumped him. Was like, here, have money and also a child. It's like this lady's too old to have like a young kid. What are you doing? And like now his family, if they, ever come back from North Korea, is never gonna be able to find him.
Right. Well, like
Um,
I don't think necessarily there's a chance that's gonna happen.
well, I don't think so, but I'm just saying that if there was a situation that was gonna happen, because his mom is apparently still alive. His dad, I think, died, but
Mm-hmm. But his
um,
mom's in like China now.
yeah. But yeah, just dumps him and like leaves with his ugly ass hair, and it's like, I'm gonna go be a dad, and is on like in the airport talking about like, oh yeah, I got a great gift for you this year. Let's go. I'm excited to see you. Then he sees the guy, the recruiter man, doing the flippy game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, nope.
I'm going to call this number. And the guy's like, yo, just get on the plane. Stop being a butthead.
Yeah.
Hey, remember when I said I'm going to do cool things for my daughter? Screw that.
I'm going back. He's like, what?
It's like, all right.
You learn nothing.
Because, of course, that's going to be the thing. It's like, oh, he's going to go back and stop the whole thing. And I'm just like,
Yeah, I don't care.
eh.
Legitimately just do not give a
Yeah.
Like it's such a stupid way to end it. Like I know that they're setting it up for a second season. That's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Or the possibility of a second season. If it had done well, they're like, oh, now we have an open opportunity to make another one.
Mm-hmm.
But like again, no lessons were learned here. He's not going to be a better dad. He's going back here to risk his life for some reason. Um, I mean, he was lucky to begin with that he survived in the first place. Like the only reason he survived through the first set of games is because he was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think he would survive a second time.
No.
But it was just stupid. It was a really annoying way to end it. I'm like, oh god, really? That's what we're going with? I really don't understand that red hair. I really don't understand that red hair.
I gotta look cool.
He looks like Ronald McDonald. It's terrible. It's like he was trying to be like a K-pop star, but like, bro, when you're like nearly 50 trying to be a K-pop star, yikes. Not a good look.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's frustrating. Like I said, the only person that was like really likable was Ali, and he get bamboozled and murdered.
Mm-hmm.
I did also like the other cool girl that was in with Cool Girl in the
Yes.
Marvel game. I liked her,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked her reasoning at the end of like, this is why I'm basically going to throw the game.
Mm-hmm.
That she's like, you know, you actually have a reason out there to live and get out and have the money, and I don't. Because they kind of set her up as like cool girl part two.
Right.
But then she ends up actually being a pretty cool girl, not in the sense of like how we're using it,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, she died pretty fast. And Ali, you know, who knows what's gonna happen to his family? Yay!
Yay.
It's just very frustrating. This show.
That's the Squid Game for you.
I mean, I think that there is basically like a 99.9% chance there will be a second season now.
Totally.
Um, and I'm going to make a comparison that you will probably understand. I don't know if you've seen it or not, though. Battle Royale 2 is stupid.
I've heard about that.
Battle Royale 2 is really stupid. And there's 0 point to it. I feel like that's what the second season this would be.
Well, luckily, I don't know, but I don't think the director of this is going to die and then leave it to like his son, and then
Yeah.
the son's going to make the sequel,
Yeah.
and the son's just not going to understand anything that his dad originally made with Battle Royale. So
No.
I think that might help, but
Yeah, but like
I get what you mean, though.
he's also like handing it over to a team now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, understandably, the dude lost 6 freaking teeth out of stress. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Yikes. That's like my ultimate nightmare is to lose
Yeah.
teeth because of stress. But like you know that I legitimately have fears of that.
Oh, I know.
So like I think by writing the second one by committee, ugh, I don't know. Like this one was already kind of rough enough, and
That could just introduce more issues with the series potentially.
yeah, I'm expecting a battle royale too.
Well, there you go. I will say that apparently someone from Netflix has mentioned
Mm-hmm.
that the whole of Netflix is looking into making a potential video game adaptation of this series.
Why?
It is very popular. Also, probably to stymie all those user-made versions that are in like Roblox, Fortnite, and GTA 5,
Uh,
because they're not making any money off those.
no.
They got to get what's theirs.
Um, I do want to also mention the gangster character Daksu.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I recognized his actor immediately. I was like, I know this guy, and he was in Psychopath Diary, which was Donggu's drama like a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Which you know who Donggu is. Most people
Mm-hmm.
probably won't know who he is. Um, but he plays like a gangster like character in that, but he's comic relief in that.
Yeah.
And so, like, seeing this different version of him, I was like, whoa. Like, interesting how you can play a gangster character in two very, very different ways, but he did a great job. But yeah, there was that. And also, I do appreciate that crazy lady. She told him, like, you betray me, I will kill you. He's like, haha, yeah, uh-huh, right. Nope. She lived up to that. Good for her.
She did the thing.
She did the thing. She's like, all right, you know what? I'm going out. You're going out with me. Let's go, buddy. I'm like, all right, go out like you lived. Crazy as
Yep.
God. Good for her.
Good for her.
This show.
Well, that's the Squid Game.
That's a Squid Game.
We only saw like one squid.
Did we see a squid?
Yeah, I think the fishing mom was cutting up a squid at one point in like
You
one
are
of the very
right.
early episodes. That's the only squid you see.
You're right.
One squid, 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10.
Done. That's all you need to know.
Mm-hmm. Needs more squid.
Needs more squid. There you go. I think it's going to wrap up this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. If you would like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cools where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared and Al Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Ann Ladium, go to annladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, a critical analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early, and a wealth of bonus material as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, I don't know, we'll talk about something.
Talk about something.
It'll be something.
Yeah.
It's our final episode of October,
Jesus Christ.
so we'll figure all that out.
Oof.